Hello again, Pastor Michael Jarbo here. Welcome to another edition of Soul Care, conversations to help renew the spirit. I'm glad you're here. Check out today's episode. Hello again, and welcome to another Soul Care Pastors Edition. I'm Pastor Michael Jarbo, and we've finally done it. We have wrapped up all of the pastors, ending on a very special note. The one and only, the newest pastor on staff at MDUMC, Pastor Drew Essen. Hey, Drew, how are you, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing so good. It's so good to see you.
It's still weird. It's not weird. It's just wild. It's just so, let's call it out. It's like calling you pastor is like, It's like incredibly moving, but it's also like, because you've worked hard and like you're coming into what you believe God is calling you to be, and so many others. And then like, this is not on the script, but like, how are you feeling? Like being a pastor? Any like emotions? What's going on? Did you?
No, it's very
take out one night and like celebrate and tell them, this is Reverend Drew Essen.
Maybe not that, but sorry. No, it's been an incredible experience so far. It's been again, I'm a licensed local pastor now, as you know, which is a little bit different than an elder. So I'm still in seminary. It's very similar to what Pastor Victor does. And so the emotion around it has been really exciting. And it's been really exciting to come into this new role at the same time, Pastor Brad has joined our staff as well. So it's been exciting to be a part of it and just to start seeing how some of the little rhythms in my life are changing. But that's good. And I'm just so overwhelmingly blessed to be a part of the clergy staff here at MDUMC after being on staff for the last 7 years. So excited for a new chapter.
Great. We are too. Well, you are up to bat. You've got some questions we've been asking throughout these past few weeks to our pastors. And then we have the Rapid 11 question speed round that's what I do every time.
I've watched them. Yeah.
I know you have. Of course you have. And so we'll ask you the 11 question speed round, and then we'll call this a close. But first, you kind of already got into a little bit, Drew, but talk to us a little bit about your call to ministry. It's interesting because you have been here for a number of years, and then you've got, tell us like how this really came about. You're still in seminary and you're in the process, but like, come on, spill the beans.
Sure. Yeah, no, and it is kind of a little bit of a unique situation, as opposed to, maybe the way that our church is used to getting clergy on our staff. It's kind of unique to what we do. But for me, I've worked in full-time ministry now, believe it or not, for almost 10 years. I'm 27 now and got my first full-time job as a youth director when I was 18. And, it's kind of one of those things where in your heart where God is leading you, and you've always known where God is leading you, but you kind of try to do things to try to scratch that itch. So for me, it looked like a couple of different things, right? It looked like being a youth director at my previous church and saying, I'm in full-time ministry. That's what the calling God has put on my life. But then God just continued to nudge me and say, yes, this is great. This is good what you're doing, but it's not that spot. It's not that place where your gifts align with what I have for you. And then for me, it looked like being the worship leader here at MDUMC, right? Coming on staff 7 years ago. And again, it was one of those things where I was like, yes, this is good. This is where God wants me. And I believe that God led me here, certainly. But over the last 3 or 4 years, in talking to trusted friends and colleagues like you and I, leading up to me pursuing this, you and I have had hours of conversation. And hours of conversations with Dr. Simmons and with Dr. Robbins and many trusted people in my life, I started seeing that nudging that I was getting from God was to enter into pastoral ministry.
Mm.
And so I began the process of candidacy in the Texas Annual Conference, and began my studies at Perkins at SMU, and that's been really, really great. And so I'm pursuing the elder track in the United Methodist Church, which is, as they know, that's what you are in the Methodist Church. And so it's really been a story of me trying to, I don't want to say all the way run away from God, but maybe just settle a little bit more for my personal wants, maybe more than what God had for me. But
Right.
time and time again, God has been shown me that obviously what God has is way greater and way, it's way more than what I could have imagined. Right.
Awesome.
And I've already experienced that in being a clergy for, 20 days now or whatever.
Right, right.
Yeah.
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 Oh man, it's incredible the ways that God surprises you through this process, and
Yeah.
it is arduous and it is time consuming and can be frustrating at times. But man, it's a joy to witness where God works in unique ways. And
Sure.
I've and you're doing a lot of it online, which
Yeah.
is different than what many of us other folks have experienced, and yet God can still work through online platforms to help shape us and mold us. So
Absolutely. And I just have to quick praise for Perkins just because they've done incredible work making it accessible for everybody. And my professors and the entire experience has been um, incredible. And for, someone with a busy family life and, a lot of responsibilities here at the church, it really has made it possible through their Houston Galveston program. So I'm thankful for Perkins and thankful for SMU for sure.
Soul Care, sponsored by Perkins School of Theology.
Exactly
You
right.
want
Yeah.
your education to soar?
Yeah, I don't think
Up to
that's
Perkins. They're gonna start paying me royalties for you acknowledging soul care.
got it. Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had reached that point with soul care, but
Well, it's expanded. Yeah, it's in a few different markets. We're really we're leaning into Snapchat, and
yeah,
we're considering our options, globally.
yeah. I guess your seminary, Garrett, didn't offer you a sponsorship or anything like that, huh? Had to get it from Perkins.
Moving on to the next question. Um, Drew, there's an African proverb that says a person uh, becomes a person through other people.
Mm.
I've loved that. It's a good quote that I've been holding on to throughout this quarantine piece, because it's good to reflect on the people who help to make you who you are, so you can sustain during these difficult times. So, Drew Essen, who is someone that made a significant impact in your life? You probably could spend an hour speaking about multiple people, but like, what comes to mind? Who is someone or a group of people that have really helped to shape you?
Sure. Yeah, and I think it goes back to a lot of folks think about their time in like youth group and times that they've entered into the life of the church and entered and have helped them grow spiritually. The one that when I'm asked this question, because again, in the candidacy process, you're asked questions like this all the time,
So
right?
many times. Yes.
Um,
Right.
but
You've got this ready to go. You've got this
yeah,
ready
yeah,
to go.
yeah. And so for me, the answer that I always give is my sister Krista, who is 2 years older than me. And without a ton of backstory, we moved around a lot as when I was a kid, and eventually settled here in Houston, on the southwest side of town. But everywhere that we went, everywhere that we lived, my sister was very intentional about getting involved in the church that we were that we started attending. Right, she was very intentional once we moved to Houston about getting me in the youth group and getting me connected to a community of faith. And if it wasn't for her constant, you know, uh, invitation and sometimes like forcing me to go with her,
Heard.
um, I would have never had the experience of seeing an acoustic guitar on stage after a worship set and being like, oh, like, what if I learned to play guitar? Right.
Right.
Um, and just the ways that our relationship has grown since we were kids. She has just always been a source for me of inspiration and always a great sounding board. And, she has a son now, my nephew. And so just even now being able to walk through um, parenting and the different phases of life that brings has been so fun. And so she's certainly helped me made me the person that I am today.
Awesome. Good
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
Awesome. And she's a wonderful person. Y'all just were at the beach together this past weekend?
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing like two infants and a 2-year-old at the beach. It's we were joking, like, we didn't come here to relax. This is really
No.
this
Correct.
is yeah.
No, no, there's no real yeah, that's changed. You've got a few
Oh,
more years down the road until that's better.
yeah, we did book a little hill country trip though with my dad. So just the adults coming up in October. So we're
Good.
excited.
Awesome.
When things were especially hard at the beach, we're like, just hold on till October. We can do it. So anyway, yeah.
I feel like isn't that life today? It's like
Yeah.
on to the next week and the next day and the next, like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. That's good.
You got to find those things to look forward to, right?
You got to. Okay. That leads us to the next question, because you talked about family and your sister. So tell us a little bit about your wife, Kristen Essen, who today we're filming on Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Days. What are they really?
Yeah.
We're filming on Tuesday, and it's July 14th, and this is your 3-year anniversary with Kristen. So this is a special time to be asking you about her.
Yeah.
Our clergy spouses are, they are blessings for people, but they also often get sometimes honed into certain kind of like understandings of what they're supposed to be and who they are. And a lot of times it's like, okay, any kind of expectation you have for spouses, let them go, because they're their own people. They can do what they want. And we've been asking all the clergy who are married to share a little bit about their spouse. And so tell us just a little bit about Kristen Essen and why she's so special to you.
Sure. Yeah. Easy question, because she, man, yeah. So today's our third anniversary, which we are looking forward to celebrating that later tonight. And Kristen and I met through mutual friends, and really we're in a season where we were both just had this overwhelming sense of ready to settle down, and just like our values of faith and our values of family were really what initially attracted us to each other. Plus, she's a smoke show, so she's beautiful. And
Smoke show.
sorry, yeah, um, am I not allowed to say that on
You
Soul
can
Care?
say it. It's soul care, baby. I mean, anything can happen, right?
That's right. I'm trying to help your viewership here.
Okay.
Um,
Just please answer the question.
but no, I mean, and so yeah, so everybody always kind of gives us a tough time, jokingly, that including you, that we just have done a whole lot of life in the last 3 years. We've done an incredible amount of life and had 2 wonderful children. But Kristen, for me, is the best friend and the support system that without, I wouldn't be able to live into the calling that God's put in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Her support, her just ever since we've known each other, she's just always encouraged me to go after the things that I feel like God is calling me to. And she's agreed to be a clergy spouse, which in itself is just an act of a sacrifice, an act of like there's the attention is going to be on us as a family, as a clergy person, and that's just a reality.
Mm.
And so she's been incredible throughout the process. She's a teacher. She's a second grade teacher in Fort Bend ISD where we live. And she's been navigating like this whole online learning thing and doing that. And what do we do with our kids and all that fun stuff. But she's incredible, man. She's, you know her. Fun fact for your viewers, Michael was my first friend to meet Kristen.
That's right. That's right. You were at
And,
State Fair over there off of
yeah.
LA, and you're like, it wasn't like, hey man, come over and meet her. It was like, get here now.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, I had family in town
Yeah.
that night. Leslie's parents were in town, and I was like, guys, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta go. I gotta go. Drew has requested my presence. And yeah, it was. I mean, you can see the instant chemistry from the very beginning. So
Yeah. So, and it's been fun to have so many good friends like you and Leslie to walk alongside the journey with us. And so we're 3 years down, long time to go.
Yeah,
As long as she can.
Believe it, dude. 3 years ago. It's wild.
Yeah. It's
so
good.
special. That was a fun wedding too.
It was.
That was a blast. And the fireworks. I forgot about the fireworks until you posted a picture today. I was like, dude, that was awesome. That was a good one. All right. Great answer. Kristen will approve, I bet. Next question. Coming in on 10 years of almost full-time ministry, you gotta have had some fun and funny moments along the way. Every pastor, for the most part, has said some I can't, like, they're like, I can't share all of them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, like, what's a funny moment for you that comes to mind, or what, and we have to laugh in ministry.
Yeah.
It's difficult at times, and you have to step into hard situations. So what's something funny for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are a lot of different ones that, that come to mind. Maybe not all need to be shared, but because I think initially about just, especially when you and I first came on staff, and it was me, you, and Daniel, and all working, and right next to each other, and just the stories that we could tell, just about funny things going on. But one of the stories that I remember is kind of more worship centered, is in leading worship, and this was actually at my previous church, but that's a story I tell all the time. That's probably like 17, 18 years old, and I had went and bought a soda before service, which, drinking soda before you sing, not great. But anyway, so I had put some change in my pocket, and then also right before the service started, I had to change the guitar, the battery on my guitar,
Okay.
Which is a 9-volt battery. If you did, I don't know if you know, but the guitars that we play, the acoustics, use a 9-volt battery. And so I slipped the battery into the same pocket that the change was in. And somehow I'm leading the first song, and I guess the tips of the battery started heating up this battery because they were on the coins. And like, I'm like sitting there, I'm like, what is going on? Right. I'm like playing my guitar, and then like I look down, and literally, like, not on fire, but like smoldering a place on my jeans. And so I had to reach in my pocket really quick, and I threw the battery across the platform and kept going. But like afterwards, I just died laughing that it was like, that happened to me.
Did you burn a hole in your jeans?
Yeah.
I never heard this story.
Yeah, I don't like love sharing it, because but it was a funny moment. It was a funny moment in ministry.
Okay.
And so, and that's from my previous church. I could share zillions
that
have happened.
Many.
I mean, just even of me and you. I don't want to embarrass you in front of your audience, so I'll
thank you.
You can just reach me at MDUMC, Drew Essen at MDUMC.
If you really want the stories, there's some good ones in there.
I think you're right, though. I think it's so important in ministry to not take ourselves too seriously,
right.
to really remember that we are imperfect humans serving a perfect God. And the more that we can remember that and laugh together, and we do laugh a lot. And that's one of the blessings of working at MDUMC, is that,
Yeah.
especially on the clergy staff,
Oh yeah.
it's a tight bond. It's a tight bond, and it's a blessing. So
Yeah. It is. It is, man. That's so
yeah.
true. It's an added bonus to the staff to have a team that we can all laugh together. Great.
Yeah.
All right. So we're moving from the laughing to a little bit more serious in the like, what's a powerful moment? I've been asking that, and it's been fascinating to hear the answers from our colleagues who have reflected on those moments. And again, we could also spend an hour on here talking about powerful moments and moments that moved us to tears or warmed our hearts, whatever that might be. But for you, what's a powerful moment in ministry that is coming to mind right now?
Mm. Yeah, man, that's a great question. I immediately think about um, services that I've been a part of, that have been especially poignant. And I remember one of my most powerful times, a service I participated in here, was after the Memorial Day shooting. Um, that was a couple of years ago, right next to the Journey, and we had the service of hope, and I can't remember exactly what we called it, but it was a service of hope with different faith leaders around the community, just to come together. And I can remember looking out at that full room, um, and in my head almost flashing back to that morning, and when there was just terror in that room, and then seeing how God had brought people together in hope. And it's kind of one of those moments where I close my eyes and you can still see it, and you can still feel the presence of God in that room, and just the assurance that, out of tragedy, death or fear doesn't get the last word.
That's right.
So that's really that was a powerful moment for me. And, also just being able to experience that with Susie Reedstrom, and especially as we reflect on people who have passed away, you think about those little moments that you really didn't appreciate in the moment, but now it's really, really special to think about.
Yeah, man, that's
yeah,
great. That's good. Good answer, buddy. Man, my mind is like spinning, thinking about
yeah,
all that time and that reflecting on that.
yeah, man.
Well done. All right, my friend. We ask also always with the folks the age-old question John Wesley would ask his pastors and colleagues about how is it with your soul? And that's an interesting question to ask. It's not like how are you doing or like what's up, but like how is it with your soul? And we've been asking clergy because we all need to check in a time or two with one another to see how we're doing, because this is like a marathon.
Yeah,
The season, as numbers continue to climb, we have to continue to think creatively and outside of our comfort zone about how to do church and how to be the church. So, Drew, how is it with your soul?
yeah, and I think it's a great question, and I think what's more important is that people answer honestly. You know what I mean? And not, because I think a lot of times as Christians, or as pastors, or whatever it might be, it'd be very easy for me just to say, oh, my soul's good, my kids are healthy, my wife's great, I love my job, but sometimes, even though all those things are true, we can find ourselves in seasons where it's like, man, like things are kind of hard right now. And for me, it's been a season, and so I would say my soul is a little exhausted right now, if I'm being honest with you.
It's real.
Yes, all those things I said are true. I'm so blessed. But this summer especially, we're in kind of a transition in my personal life. We had put our house on the market earlier, right when COVID hit. The day the rodeo got canceled, our house went on the market. So if you remember all the way back then, and it took a lot longer than we thought for our house to sell. So just having to, if you've gone through that process of trying to sell a house was pretty time consuming. So anyway, our house did sell. thankfully, but we're living with Kristen's parents right now, which my in-laws are watching this. Thank you. I love you. I'll never say a bad word about you. But just being in a time of transition and not being in a home for us, on top of, the situation at the church changing daily, the situation in society changing daily, having to, do more Zooms than, I thought were possible, between getting my license for ministry and seminary, and things like that. So I would say that my soul's a little tired.
Yeah.
Just a little in need of restoration. So I think it's important, for me and for everyone to be able to admit when you're a little tired, and to be able to say, like, I need to reorient myself. I need to recalibrate and reconnect to our sustainer, God, and what does that look like for me? And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at today. I think that, God is in the process of obviously working in me. And when God is working through you, I think that alone can be somewhat exhaustive to and to our human state. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Correct.
To kind of be in this stage of learning new things theologically, and learning how to move to be a pastor, and learning how to, be a dad to two kids that change every day. It's a new situation every day. So, but like I'm faithful, and I know that God's got his hand, on my life and all of our lives, and just kind of going from there.
Good.
So
awesome. Well
yeah,
done. You answered the question well, man. Very good. Insightful about when God works through us, it can be exhausting.
Yeah.
Right? Man, that is spot on.
Yeah.
Okay. Drew, you made it through the first round, and now it's time for the rapid 11 question speed round. Are you ready? Feel free to answer quickly. We're just going to go through this round fast, and we'll see how you do. Question number 1, fill in the blank. Ministry is blank.
Unpredictable.
Awesome. You're called to be brave. You feel it in your heart. But your fear also is real. What do you do first?
Sorry, ask the question one more time.
Okay. You're called to be brave in this moment, but your fear internally is also real. So what's the first thing that you do in that kind of moment?
You pray.
Okay. Good answer, Pastor.
Jesus.
Something people often get wrong about Drew Essen.
Oh gosh, something. I've always been a Methodist.
Oh, okay, that's good. Catholic, Episcopalian, Baptist. Yeah, good. What's the last TV show you binged and loved?
Okay, so I started Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix last night. I'm not all the way done with it, but there's a small part of me that feels unresolved because it is unsolved. But I love those like crime documentaries. That it's incredible. So that's what we've been watching.
Gosh, okay, good answer. What's your favorite movie? I don't know this. I don't know this one about you.
Jeez, it's a little surprising. There's a movie that my mom showed me when I was young that I say is my favorite movie, and I'm pretty sure it is. I've always loved The Great Escape.
Okay.
You remember that movie?
I do, absolutely.
Chicken Run was based on it, maybe for millennial types. But Steve McQueen back in the day on that motorcycle, bro. I mean, like you could put that movie on anytime, and I will sit down and watch all 3 hours of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And didn't you own the motorcycle?
I did own a motorcycle. Yes. Yeah. Maybe that's something people don't know about. Yeah.
I remember that, Drew Essen.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
God, feels like forever.
He was a lot more awake. He was a lot more awake. A lot more.
That's right. What's a concert that you'll never forget?
Oh my gosh. Been blessed to go to so many great concerts. I would have to say there was a concert where we're at the rodeo, and Kristen was pregnant. And we saw Thomas Rhett, and it was like we're looking for a name for our second son, and we're like, what if it was Rhett, like Thomas Rhett? We love that. So that was always been a concert in my mind that's stuck out. So
That's good.
yeah.
Awesome fact. Okay, what are you reading right now, seminarian?
Oh my gosh, like for fun or the stuff I have to read? Like
What are you reading are you reading anything for fun right now?
Well, I've actually been blessed to be in a class right now, a pastoral care class that has really brought in some reading that not that I don't enjoy my other reading, but brought in some books that I would actually read for fun. So I just finished Grit by Angela Duckworth, which if you haven't read it, it's incredible. And just learning how, to turn your talents and your passion, and really how talent is kind of cheap, and how hard work and passion is really the measure of success. So it's been really, really great to see how I can apply that to being a pastor. So
great. What's on your bedside table right now?
I do not.
In the middle of the move.
I don't have a bedside table right now. It's more.
Okay.
It's like a bookshelf.
Okay.
And so what is on there right now is a bunch of mail that has been forwarded to my in-laws' house.
Okay.
That I don't have really a place for yet.
Give me a snapshot of a moment in your life that brings you great joy.
A snapshot of a moment like great joy. I think the birth of both of my sons, again, is one of those moments that you can close your eyes and see. And just it takes you back to that moment, and just the amount of pride, the amount of fear, but a moment that just like you can't wipe the smile off your face. You can't wipe the smile off your face. So it's really good, man.
Awesome. Proud dad
Yeah.
moment.
Proud dad.
Tell me one thing that you're deeply grateful for right now.
Something I'm deeply grateful for. I am deeply grateful for, man, so many things. I would say one thing I'm deeply grateful for right now is this church, and the opportunity and trust that it has continued to show me in my life. And I think a lot of times about, during the pandemic, about folks who lose their jobs, who have to do jobs that they just do not enjoy in order to make, ends meet for their family. And I just sit anytime that, ministry can get frustrating or any of those things, it's always important for us to say, like, we still have way more moments where we say we get paid to do this. You know what I mean? So I'm feeling grateful for this place and that God has led me here.
Last question, Drew. What do you hope is the first thing that God says when you reach heaven one day?
Shoot, man. Not that.
And that's it. Thank you guys so much for another edition of Soul. I think that's perfect, bro.
No, yeah, no. I think that I think everybody has the idyllic, well done, good and faithful servant in their head. But I think like knowing that God's waiting for us, for not just for me, but for all his children, to say, like, I'm so happy that you're here, or like I've been waiting for you. And I think a God that that is looking forward to being with his children in heaven is fun to think about.
Yeah.
So,
amen. Pastor Drew Essen, well done today, brother. Excellent job. I still like, oh shoot.
Man.
That's a good moment to wrap it up. Man, you nailed all of the parts today. Thanks for your time on Soul Care, brother. So glad that you are a clergy colleague with me, my man.
Thanks, dude. And thanks for all the ways that you've spoken into my life, and just been a best friend and a brother to me. So
thanks, man. I mean,
love you.
All right, love you, bro. Take care.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Thanks for tuning into Soul Care today, friends. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for checking out Soul Care. Join us again next week at noon on Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye.